Hi, everybody. Welcome to Crew. Awesome. Before we get started, if you came in on time or early, you have a red ticket. Can we get those out right now? I have this cup, and someone is going to win Frosties from Wendy's. All right, here we go. Can I get a drum roll, please? Ticket number 7458290. Do we have any winners? Woo! Okay, I don't have your prize, but somebody does. The prize is on the stage. Oh, I do have your prize. Come on up here. Let's give her a round of applause, please. Go ahead and share those with your friends. All three of them are yours. Can we have someone help her carry them back? Anyone help her? Anyone help? This man right there. Round of applause for John Mason. Woo! As you can see, today we're in just a fun-loving mood. So why not play a game? So, show of hands, who has played Heads Up, the phone game? That's what we're doing tonight, okay? So if you ever heard of Heads Up, that's the picture of it, made famous by Ellen DeGeneres. And what's gonna happen is there's gonna be two teams, and there's gonna be one person on the stage from each team. That person's gonna have 90 seconds to guess the words that they can't see. All of you can see it, and you have to act out what the word is. For example, if the word was jumping jacks, P will be doing jumping, not that way. Jumping jacks, yeah. So, and there's no talking. What's gonna happen is you're gonna have 90 seconds to guess as many as you can. It's gonna be women versus the men. All right. So, category is everything. Everything is up for this. So what's gonna happen is each person's gonna get 3 passes. Each team's gonna get 3 passes, but when you get one right, you're gonna hear this sound. But when the 90 seconds are up, you're gonna hear this sound. All right. We're pretty legit here today. Okay, can I get one representative from each gender, the men and the women, please? Okay, how about this? Ladies, who wants to be up here? Who wants to do it? Someone who's really excited, just loves being on stage. Come on, you can do it. We just need one person. Yes. Emily, come on up here. Woo! Can I have one gentleman up here too, please? Who wants it? Schuler! So why don't you guys tell us your name, your year, and your major?
I'm Emily. I'm a sophomore, and I'm vocal performance major.
My name is Schuler. I'm a sophomore as well, and I'm a business major.
All right, so of course, we're gonna have ladies go first. So there's gonna be words up on the screen. Ladies, you're trying to act out so that Emily can guess it. Emily's not gonna be able to see, okay? So remember, no, you can't say anything, no words, okay? You get to pass 3 times, okay? I'll let you know. And you'll hear the sound when you get it right. Are you guys ready to go?
They're acting it out.
You guys are acting it out. So you need to be acting very extravagantly and loud. Can you be very loud? Are you guys ready to go? That's better. Okay, stand up. Everyone stand up. All the ladies stand up. Guys, stay seated. Run on the fly. You guys will switch whenever we get going. All right. Can I have a countdown, please? In 3, 2, 1.
What? Climbing, hopping, running, jumping, elevator, escalator. Oh, sandwich, making a sandwich. Washing your hair, shampooing, showering. Praying, reading the Bible, reading a book, reading a book, flipping pages to a book, writing a book, looking at a map, reading textbooks, studying. Pass. Shoveling, digging a hole, a sweeping, cleaning, Mopping. Petting a dog. Combing. Okay. Making pass.
Only one pass to go.
Long hair. Curlier hair. Triangle. Drinking. Sorry. Sorority. Sorority squat. Oh. Directing, singing, choir. Choir, singing, church, hymnal, worship. Santa Claus, Christmas caroling, Christmas.
All right, awesome. So men, it's your turn to redeem yourselves. All the men stand up, please.
You got this.
All right, remember, no talking. You have 90 seconds and 3 passes. Can we have a countdown, please? In 3, 2, 1, go.
Skiing. Bunny hop.
Got it.
No, elephant. Roller coaster. A wave. Mime. Planking. Pass. Hula hooping. Putting on your contacts. Eyelash in your eye. Pass.
One pass to go.
Window washing. Web swinging, Spider-Man. Nardole. Monster, Frankenstein, ghost, zombie. Walking Dead. Alligator. Bite.
Gotta get the
Pass.
No more passes.
I have one more.
Oh, yes, he does. Sorry.
Jumping. I need a 5-second penalty on Austin.
All right. And the score is 9-7. The gentlemen are victorious. All right. Now that everyone's loosened up, I want to welcome you guys to Crew's All Campus Gathering. My name is Austin. I'm a sophomore in the nursing school. I'm so glad you guys came out tonight. Crew exists to be a caring community, passionate about connecting U of M students to Jesus Christ. And I'm so happy that you guys are here. This is Crew's All Campus Gathering. And we're just so excited that you guys are able to step away from all the stuff going on in your lives, like school and social stuff, and come here and just really focus on God and find and connect with God and other people in an authentic way. Crew is part of Crew has many different movements, and those will be up on the screen. Yeah, we have all these different movements: Athletes in Action, Grad Crew, Design, Bridges, and Crew. I guess, is that us? Cool. If you guys are missing, yeah, I think that's us. Cool. All right. So this is All Campus Gathering. Other days of the week, usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we have things called community groups. Community groups are a place where you can really get into smaller groups and really meet people from your area campus and really dig into God's Word together. So if you aren't involved in a community group, I would really encourage you to get involved in one. Now, to find out more about where these community groups are, more about events happening within Crew, you can go to michigancrew.com, or you can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, or follow us on Instagram as well. So this website is how you get to know us through the website, but one way that Crew wants to get to know you is through the maze cards. You found these maze cards on your seat. This would be the time for you to pick them up, grab your pencil, and fill them out, and we'll have a huge prize for 3 people tonight who fill out their maze cards, so make sure you fill those out. Another thing on your chair is the volunteer opportunities card. So you may have noticed that there are a lot of people that come together to do things at Crew, leading community groups, setting out all these things on your chairs, and you saw people handing out tickets at the beginning or just opening doors and greeting you. There are a lot of opportunities to get involved in crew, and on that card, I think it's the orangish card. That's the way you guys can get more involved and find out more about ways you can get involved, and we really encourage you to do that, for sure. Now, while you guys are doing that, I actually have a story for you. So it was a cold, cold night. Cold day, actually. It was actually October 23rd, 2015. Actually, a week from Friday. That's kind of weird. And all the students were getting out of class. They were so excited. I mean, you're out of classes, ready for the weekend. And our story begins when we find Billy, a U of M student just like us. He was getting out of class, and he just sat down in his futon, and he decided, he was thinking, I'm really excited about this weekend.
Well, it's 5 o'clock on a Friday. The regular dorm crowd shuffles in. And my roommate, he sits down next to me. His studies, he's about to begin. He says, Bill, I believe this is killing me. And I'm not really sure where to go. But I'm aching for rest and to get stuff off my chest. And I heard you're a God-fearing bro. My roommate's not alone in this feeling. There's plenty just like him all around. And their hearts, they are breaking and their bodies are aching. And they're looking to get out of this town. Fa-fa-fa-da-fa, get away. I'll sing you a song about fall getaway. Come there with us tonight, 'cause we're all in the mood for a getaway to get us feeling all right. I say it'll be a pretty great crowd for a getaway. We'll hang out all weekend long. And we'll stay up real late and go to Steak and Shake. And we'll sit there singing this song. And there's so many games there, it's a carnival. And canoeing and sports, even chess. And we'll gather us youths and discuss gospel truths and make tons of new friends, it's the best. So I beg you to come to Fall Getaway. The theme this year is Thrive. 'Cause we're all feeling strife and we're looking for life. But because of God, we are alive. So come to Fall Getaway and thrive. I said, I come on to Fall Getaway and thrive.
Wasn't that awesome? So, Fall Getaway is coming up, everybody. Make sure you guys sign up. There's like a tentative deadline. We want to get as many people signed up before next Wednesday as humanly possible. So if you haven't signed up yet, make sure you do that. And if money is a problem for you, we want to make sure that money is not something that keeps you from coming. Go ahead and ask a staff member about scholarships, and they're definitely available if that's something that you think you might qualify for. Also, Saturday night at Fall Getaway is the famous Fall Getaway variety show. So get together your community groups. If you haven't planned anything yet, you need to. This is something Swole Flakes. Okay. And that's something you can just have a lot of fun being a part of or just watching. This is always hilarious and always a lot of fun. So tonight, right now I'm going to invite up our speaker. He's going to be speaking on our new series we're starting tonight titled Go Therefore. He's going to be talking about evangelism and what it means to be believers in Christ. So I want to invite up Crew at Michigan's missional team leader, affectionately known as Pops, Nate Ardle.
All right. Yeah, you can call me Pops. I'm totally okay with that. I've kind of gotten over it. Yeah, there you go. Matt Hagnite wanted you guys to know, he's the one singing there. His hair actually looked like that just a few years ago, isn't that right? Yeah. So anyway, 2009. Yeah, it's awesome. All right, well, that was fun. Well, a few weeks ago, very first week here of this semester, I hinted at my lack of a dating life in high school. And here was the issue. The issue was I just wasn't confident. It's not that I didn't want a dating relationship, I really did. I just wasn't confident to actually ask a girl out. So I just lacked confidence in myself, and I was intimidated to go and ask a girl out. That's just what was going on in my life at the time. And I mean, looking back now, it's actually really good I didn't pursue a dating relationship because I just wasn't emotionally and spiritually mature enough to have a healthy relationship. So it's kind of the grace of God that he kind of put me in a position of not really wanting a relationship. But basically, all the way through high school and then going to college, I really desired a relationship and just couldn't bring myself to actually ask a girl out and get a relationship. Now, God had a plan for my life. He knew who I was going to marry. I didn't know, but he did. I actually met my wife the very first ACG, my very first year on campus. And we actually lived in the same dorm, so we had this really easy way of getting to know each other. We had common friends. We hung out with the same friends together all the time. But there were still these barriers between just getting to know her as a friend and me actually asking her out and beginning a relationship with her. Now, some of the barriers, first barrier was the fact that she was a year ahead of me. Okay, so I was a freshman, she was a sophomore. She's actually a year and a half older than me. And you might think, well, that's not a big deal, because it's really not. But for me at the time, it was a big deal. It's I'm just a freshman, she's an upperclassman, I can't ask her out. So that was the first thing that was going on. The second thing, and this is really kind of funny, is there was this other girl, okay? So at my first fall getaway, of all things, there's this other girl from another school who was pursuing me, okay? She was pursuing me, and I was like, what in the world do I do with this? I have no idea. And so she's pursuing me. In fact, the two memories I have of that fall getaway was one was this girl who just was hanging around me the whole time, not knowing, having any idea what to do with her. And then the other memory was passing the football with my wife, okay, or my wife-to-be, I guess you could say. And it's obvious that this other girl had no idea what was going on, otherwise it would have been something going on between the two of them. So that was actually, it wouldn't have been pretty, so that was good. So here I am, I want this relationship, I have this girl pursuing me, asking me out on dates after fall getaway, seriously. I mean, it's what in the world is going on here? And I just wasn't that into her, okay? I finally got up enough nerve to say, this just isn't going. I'm not interested in you right now. I'm sorry. So finally, this girl's out of the picture. Okay, another barrier kind of taken out of the picture. So Shelly and I continue to get to know each other. We go to NDCC together. We spend a lot of time getting to know each other. Our community groups do some creative dates together. And somewhere along the way, I begin to fall in love with Shelly, which was sweet. And then. But I still have this barrier of actually asking her out and actually pursuing a relationship with her. And beyond all of that stuff, there was another guy in the picture, Jim, okay? So, yeah, exactly. All right, so Jim just hung around Shelly. He just hung around. She never had any idea what this guy wanted because he never made it really clear with her what he wanted. But he just hung around. In fact, this is really funny. One time, he asked Shelly to go to a movie with him, and he says, you can bring a friend with you. Guess who she asked? Yeah, so here we are, the three of us, watching Fantasia together, okay? They re-released Fantasia to the movie theaters. So anyway, this trippy movie, and the three of us together in the movie theater, it was crazy. Okay, so then it's okay, so this guy's in the picture, I'm not sure what to do with it, but I finally get to the point where it's we're getting to know each other. I really want to pursue a relationship with Shelly. So I get up a nerve to actually pursue this with her. So I call her up one night, and I'm like, hey, we need to talk. Okay, can we talk tonight? She's like, I'd love to, but Jim's here. Okay, he's hanging out in her room again. I'm like, okay, well, we can do it some other time. She's like, no, let me get rid of him. So she does. She gets rid of them. We go walking. Okay, so we're walking down the street. It's late at night, and we're walking, we're talking, and we're starting a relationship here. We come out from under a street light, so you kind of walk into the light. Well, somebody else is walking toward us, and he walks into the light. Guess who? Jim! Exactly. So we stop, and we have one of the most awkward 4 to 5 minute conversations you could possibly have with somebody. But you know what happened after that? Jim disappeared. I won! So I had finally overcome all of those barriers between me and having a relationship with somebody that was actually really special in my life. And a few years later, we get married 2 weeks after I graduate. And now 21 years later, 20 years of marriage, 4 wonderful kids later, here we are. And it's wonderful. But you know what? I almost allowed my fear and I almost allowed the desires and concerns of other people to get in the way of something that was really significant in my life, this really significant relationship in my life. And fear can hold us back in all sorts of areas of life. Whether it's a class that's actually really difficult for you. For a lot of you, high school was super easy, and now it's maybe not so easy. So you might feel like bailing on a class. You might feel like bailing on a major. You might even feel like bailing on the university itself. And it could be even things like maybe you tried to go out for some sports teams when you're in high school, but maybe you're afraid to do that because you're afraid of actually failing at that. Maybe it'll be a job at some point where you're actually afraid to pursue this job because of the fear of actually not being able to do the job or not getting the job. It might even keep you from actually applying for something. There's all sorts of things that we have a fear of that keep us from going after things in our lives. So there's this fear of failure, but there's a part of the fear of failure is also a fear of rejection. We don't want to be rejected by other people. And this fear of rejection holds us back in all sorts of relationships with each other. I want you to think about it. I just want you to talk with each other right now, just with the person next to you, just for like 2 or 3 minutes. I want you to think about this question here. I want you to tell a story of a time where you were either rejected or you were afraid of being rejected, and how did that affect you? All right, so just turn to the person next to you, take 2 or 3 minutes, and talk about that real quick. Go for it. All right, so all those awful stories about being rejected or being afraid of being rejected, they're terrible, okay? But some point in your life, you'll be okay with like sharing with people and you'll laugh about it. But you know what? They weren't all that funny at that point in your life, I'm sure. And it's this fear of rejection that all of us have faced and you're going to face again throughout your life that also affects the way that we interact with people when it comes to our faith, when it comes to the things that we believe to be true about God. And we don't talk to other people about our faith because we're afraid that people might believe differently than we do, and that it actually might create division between the two of us. Because we know that people tend to hang out with people that share things in common. And so if you differ with somebody on something as core of belief as religion, then it seems like that could really begin to push a relationship apart. I think we also have some very specific fears about what it looks like to talk about our faith with other people that cause us to be quiet when it comes to our faith. In our culture, faith is seen as being a very deeply personal thing. And it's something that we just don't talk about as a culture. I mean, there's a couple topics that we just don't talk with each other about, politics and religion, because they just seem to divide people from each other. So we just kind of avoid them. We talk about anything else besides those two topics. I think another thing that keeps us from talking to people about our faith is that it just seems like people don't really change what they believe to be true. They just don't seem to change their religious views about anything. And so if somebody's not going to change what they believe to be true anyways, and if by talking about this subject it would actually cause us to break apart from each other, then why would I even bring it up in the first place? That's what we begin to think about when it comes to our faith. So we have this deeply personal subject area that could cause relationships to break apart, and that's what keeps us from actually talking to other people about what we believe to be true. But on the other hand, all of you are here at a meeting for Cru. an organization that's been at the forefront of talking to people and telling people about Jesus for the past 65 years. And if you hang around long enough in Cru, whether it's here at the ACG or in a community group, you're going to hear students talking about sharing their faith. And you're going to talk about, students are going to talk about their opportunities to talk to other people about Jesus. Now, and sometimes they actually might use the word evangelism. Evangelism, the E word, okay? Now, when I say the E word, what kind of things pop into your mind? Well, probably all sorts of things, but we have some pictures here, something that might pop in your mind. Here's one that might pop in your mind when you think about evangelism. Diag preachers. I have no idea what they think they're trying to accomplish, okay? But it's not working, okay? Nobody likes these guys. I mean, maybe their family does, but nobody else really likes what they're doing, and they're not really accomplishing anything. Or maybe you think about this guy. There he is, okay? Joel Osteen, nice guy, seems like, big smile. Some of you actually may like Joel Osteen, okay? So the only thing I want to say about Joel Osteen is he just doesn't seem to take the whole of the Bible as seriously as I would like him to. And he tends to talk about the things that people really want to hear, and he tends to avoid some of the really hard things that people need to hear. Or maybe you think about this guy, Billy Graham, all right? Now, Billy Graham truly is an amazing man. He really is. But you look at a guy like this and you're like, well, I can't ever imagine like doing what he did, talking to thousands of people. And you may even think that's probably not even that effective in today's culture. I mean, he doesn't really do that anymore. Nobody really does that anymore the way that he used to do it. Yet here, so we have these examples of evangelism that kind of just seem like, don't really want to do that. But here we are in Cru talking about how necessary it is for us to talk to other people about Jesus. So why is that? Why is it so important to us to talk to other people about Christ? Well, there's a couple big reasons. First of all, there's what we call the Great Commission. Jesus has given us a mission as followers of him to go out to the rest of the world and to help other people become followers of Jesus. And in a couple weeks, Sylvia Smith, who's one of our Bridges International staff here, is going to be here at the ACG, and she's going to be talking more about the Great Commission, this mission that Jesus has given us. Secondly, there's this reality that we believe that people are spiritual beings. People are not just physical beings, they're spiritual beings. They've been created in the image of God. They've been created to have a relationship with God. But that sin has entered into their life and has broken that relationship between them and God. They're separated from him. And it's our desire that they would actually come back together with God, that they be reconciled to God, that they would have life forever with him. And that's why we want to talk to people about Christ. So then how do we reconcile the necessity to tell other people about Jesus with some of the fears that we have of what would happen if we were to try to do that? Well, to kind of pursue that a little bit, I want to look at a passage in 1 Peter chapter 3. We're going to have it up here on the screen. But this is what Peter says. He says, "Who is going to harm you if you are eager to do good? But even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Do not fear their threats. Do not be frightened. But in your hearts, revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect, keeping a clear conscience, so that those who speak maliciously against your good behavior in Christ may be ashamed of their slander." The believers in Jesus that Peter is writing to here were facing a real, legitimate fear of persecution in their lives. Now, at this point in the Roman Empire, at the beginning of the 1st century AD, Christians weren't yet being fed to the lions in the Colosseum. That was not what's going on. But Christians were beginning to be marginalized and ostracized in their culture, in the Roman Empire, as a subversive cult. And their beliefs were just outside of the mainstream. They weren't in line with what the Romans believed. They weren't in line with Greek religion. They weren't really a part of any of the kind of more established local religions around this part of the world. So what kind of threats were they facing? Well, it's honestly not that different than the kind of threats that believers have been facing for the past 2,000 years. It was family members who would kick them out of the family. It was neighbors who would ostracize them, shun them. It was businesses that wouldn't sell to them or wouldn't employ them. Or it was just simply people in their in their communities that would ridicule them and berate them and even try to drive them out of town. And even though they weren't being systematically killed at this point in history, a lot of them did face the real threat of physical harm because of what they believed. Now, what Christ followers face today isn't really all that different than what they were facing then, especially when you think about a culture that we live in that's increasingly kind of opposed to the things that the Bible stands for. So it's really easy for us to look at this passage and really to say this really does apply to us very directly. And what does Peter say here? He begins by calling on them to not be afraid. He says, don't be afraid. Why? Because he says, who can harm you? Who can harm you? Now it's interesting he says that because then he goes on to say, well, you're going to suffer and you're going to be threatened and you're going to be slandered, but he's like, nobody can really harm you. Interesting. You see, he's saying that while people can do all these things to somebody who follows Christ, and that these things could actually be emotionally and sometimes even physically harmful, they can't actually harm, really, somebody who follows Jesus. And he says that even if you suffer for what you believe, you're blessed. You're blessed. So even if these kinds of things are happening to you, he's saying you're going to be blessed. Well, what does that mean? What does he mean by you can be blessed in the middle of those kinds of difficult circumstances? Well, the best place to understand this is to go to what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 5, the Sermon on the Mount, in what we call the Beatitudes. I just want to share a few of them with you because I think it really connects with what Peter is talking about in this passage. Look at Matthew chapter 5, just a few of the blessings that Jesus talks about in that passage. First of all, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So what are the blessings? Well, if I had to summarize, I'd say it's really about experiencing the fullness of God. It's about us seeing God for who he really is. And it's also about a future with God that can't be taken away. No matter what happens to us, no matter what other people do to us, this future, this amazing future with God cannot be taken away. And what Jesus is saying here ties into what Peter is saying in 1 Peter chapter 3. He says we ought to revere Jesus as Lord. How does it connect with what he says here in Matthew chapter 5? Well, Jesus is saying here in Matthew chapter 5 in the Beatitudes, Jesus is saying that I am the one who is most truly meek. That is Jesus. Jesus is the one who's most truly meek. It's Jesus who is most truly righteous. It's Jesus who is most truly pure in heart. It's Jesus who is persecuted because of righteousness. It's Jesus who is insulted. And so when our lives reflect these characteristics that he's talking about here, we are revering Jesus. We are showing other people what he is like. We're showing them he is the one that is worthy of our lives, that he is Lord and worthy of being followed. Now, going back to 1 Peter 3, let's go back to the second part of that passage real quick. Look again at what he says. Another way that we revere Jesus as Lord in our lives is by being ready to talk to other people about him. And this goes back to what I've been talking about from the very beginning, that we would actually talk to other people about Christ, that we would evangelize them. That's kind of what he's talking about here. Now, notice what Peter doesn't say here. He doesn't say that we have to have all the answers. He doesn't say that you have to convince people of the truth. And he doesn't say that you have to berate people, belittle people, or make people feel foolish until they finally succumb to what you believe. He's not at all saying any of those things. Instead, he says that we simply have to be ready to tell other people why we find hope in Jesus. Jesus is the real issue. Jesus is the central issue. So when it comes to talking about other people, we really need to talk about him. When it comes to talking about what we believe, we need to talk about Jesus. And specifically, you need to talk about why you find hope in Jesus. People find hope in all sorts of things. They maybe find hope in their job. They maybe find hope in their family. Maybe they find hope in their children. Maybe they find hope in things that really aren't that important, like sports teams, for instance. Now, some of you maybe are placing a little bit of your hope in Michigan football. And you know what? If that's true, you have been greatly rewarded so far this season. And hopefully you're going to be greatly rewarded again on Saturday, okay? Now, but some of you are also Lions fans. And if you've been placing your hope in the Lions, I'm so sorry. But you know what? I'm sorry, but you kind of deserve it with the Lions, because historically speaking, if you're putting your hope in the Lions, you're going to be disappointed, okay? It's just a historical fact. I'm sorry. Okay, but people put their hope in serious things, and they put their hope in some not so serious things. So then what people really need to know when you're talking to them about what you believe to be true about God is they need to know why you find hope in Jesus. Why him and not so many other things in life? What is it about him that causes you to desire to follow him with your life? How does he help you in your life? Why is it better to find hope in him than in any of these other things that we might find hope in? And in telling people about the hope that you have in Jesus, it's really about telling them your story. And one of the great things about telling people your story is they can't doubt it. They can't doubt your story. People can doubt whether what you claim to be true about Jesus is true or not. They can doubt whether the historical facts surrounding his life are true. And they can even doubt whether Christian beliefs are actually kind of make sense in the world that we live in. But they can't doubt what God has done in your life. Well, the last thing I want to highlight from the passage is some of the qualifiers that Peter says here. Peter says 3 things that we need to do when it comes to how we talk to people about what we believe and about this hope that we have in Jesus. He says we need to do it with gentleness and with respect and with a clear conscience. Well, why is gentleness so important? Well, because you can't argue people into agreeing with you. You just can't. In fact, once a discussion turns into argument, everybody's lost. The walls go up, people stop listening, and both people have lost. Well, why is respect so important? It's important because people have good reasons to believe what they believe. They do. Everybody has reasons to believe what they believe, and they have reasons to doubt what they doubt. And so we have to learn what those reasons are with the people that we talk with. We have to understand where they're coming from. We have to listen well to people. We have to acknowledge their doubts, and we have to come to grips ourselves with the reasons that people doubt the things that we believe in. Well, why is a clear conscience important? Because people are eventually going to figure out what your true motives are in talking to them about what you believe. They're going to figure out whether you're actually concerned about them, whether you actually care about them, or whether you're actually more concerned about yourself and about looking religious or righteous or something like that. The Apostle Paul says something very similar to these things in 2 Timothy chapter 2. He says this, "And the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but be kind to everyone, able to teach, patiently enduring evil, correcting his opponents with gentleness. God may perhaps grant them repentance, leading to a knowledge of the truth." The basic point here is that it is not our job to convince people of the truth of what we believe. It's God's job to do that. And that means there's no pressure on us to try and change people's minds. Our only job is to care for people, to listen to people, to understand where they're coming from, to tell them about Jesus, and to trust God to do the job of convincing them. Well, as I finish tonight, I want to just address 3 different groups of people they're probably here tonight. The first group I want to address is any of you who really don't believe in Jesus. You're really not sure about this guy. You really certainly don't want to follow him with your life. Maybe you came with a friend just to be nice tonight. I'm not really sure. But I want, for somebody that's in that situation, I'm really glad you're here. And here's what I want you to understand. I want you to understand why it is that it would be so important to us to talk to other people about what we believe to be true about Jesus. And it really goes down to some of the fundamental things that we believe to be true about him. They're really fundamental assumptions that we make. Now, in calling them assumptions, I don't mean that we don't have good reasons to believe them, that we don't have legitimate reasons to believe them. And in saying legitimate, I'm not saying that it's all about just feelings, because it's not. Even though one of the reasons I follow Jesus is because of things he's actually done in my life, things I've experienced in my life. But you know what? There's also historical and scientific reasons, evidence, that back up the things that I believe to be true and the things that I've experienced in my relationship with Christ. And so I would want you to understand why it is that I would want to talk to you about him. Because I believe that Jesus is God come to earth as a man, that he died on the cross to pay the penalty for our sins, that he rose from the dead and is alive today, and that there is eternal life that's found only in him. I believe these things. Well, you may disagree with me. You may disagree with these assumptions. But in understanding that those are the things that I believe, can you understand why I would want to talk to you about him? In fact, how cruel would it be if I really believed those things but was unwilling to talk to you and tell you that you could actually have life with him too? It'd be cruel indeed. Well, a second group I want to address really briefly is those of you who have been following Jesus, maybe for most of your life, but have never actively shared your faith with another person. That was my situation coming into college. Grew up going to church, but never really talked to other people about Christ. For you, here's what I would want you to consider doing. First of all, it would be just praying for the people around you. Pray for them. Pray that they would see their need for Jesus, and pray for opportunities to talk to them about him. And then when you have those kind of opportunities, ask them questions. Be a good listener. Listen well to people. Understand where they're coming from. The other thing I would say to you is be willing to actually learn how to more effectively talk to people about Christ. One of the things that Cru has been doing for as long as it's existed is teaching people how to talk to other people about Christ, how to listen well, how to explain what he has done for them, how to talk about some of the experiences that you've had in your life. We would love an opportunity to actually train you how to listen well to people, how to talk to other people about Christ. Give us that opportunity. That's what I'm asking for you to consider tonight. Let me address a third group, and that's those of you who have been around here for a while. Okay, some of you have been around Cru for a while. Maybe you've had an opportunity to share your faith, whether it's on a summer mission or Big Break or NDCC or here on campus. And here's what I'd want to say to you. When it comes to evangelism, check your motives. I want you to check your motives. I want you to share Christ with other people because of your love for them, because of your concern for them, and not just because it's a part of the program. Again, I would ask you also to pray for more opportunities, especially for opportunities with the people closest to you. It can be actually easier to talk with people who are complete strangers than to talk to some of the people that are closest to you because there's a lot more relational risk with the people that are closest to us. So be praying for those opportunities with people that are close to you. And the other thing I would say would be become an expert listener. You need to become an expert in listening to people. It's not really about you having opportunities to tell other people what you believe. It's really about you understanding where they're coming from and waiting for God to give you the opportunities to talk about what you believe. And just leave it up to God to do the job of convincing the people you have a chance to talk to. Well, back in 1976, a couple named Don and Carol Rice asked another couple, Bill and Kathy Ardle, my parents, to begin attending their church. And then Don and Carol had an opportunity to actually begin talking with them about what it means to follow Jesus. And eventually my parents came and began a relationship with Christ. And you know what? Don and Carol were willing to step outside of their comfort zone and to take a risk and move past any fear that they might have had and engage with my parents about something that was really important to them. And God used that to lead my parents into a relationship with Christ and led them to this church that they eventually began taking me to, this church that I learned about Jesus and began to follow him. And while I believe that God is the one who must reveal himself to other people, and he's the one that does the job of convincing other people of the truth of who he is and the truth of who Jesus is, he chooses to use people like me and people like you to tell them about him. What an amazing thing. We can be used by God to have an amazing opportunity to make an eternal difference in the lives of other people. And what I'm saying is don't let fear get in the way of those kind of opportunities. Let me pray for us. Father, all of us deal with fear when it comes to talking to other people about what we believe to be true. But God, you can use us in so many amazing ways to lead people from death to life, from being separated from you to having a relationship with you. God, that you can use us in this way. I pray we would open ourselves up to being used in that way. I pray we would be willing to take a step of faith toward other people. But as we do that, I pray we would do it with gentleness and respect and with a clear conscience, that we'd be willing to really listen to people, to understand where they're coming from, to care enough for them, to understand why they doubt. Father, I pray you'd use the men and women in this room to lead other people into a relationship with your son, Jesus. And I pray this in your name. Amen.
You stand and worship with us.
Can we thank the band for that awesome worship? It was so awesome to be just enveloped by all these people singing like that we believe and we will follow. It was just super cool. So take out those maze cards again. If you haven't started filling them out, now would be a great time to do that. And also don't forget the volunteer cards. But while you guys are doing that, we're actually going to invite up members of our Crew Dance Marathon team. So can we all give a big round of applause to Sam and Kelly as they come up here. So I'll hand you guys the mic, and why don't you guys just tell us about yourselves and also what is Dance Marathon and why should we get involved?
Thanks, Austin. Hi, I'm Sam.
I'm Kelly.
I'm a sophomore in the School of Kinesiology studying movement science.
And I'm a sophomore and a psych major. And we are this year's captains of Crew's Dance Marathon team.
Okay, so Dance Marathon, if you're wondering what it raises support and funds for kids with disabilities. So we do this through Mott's Children's Hospital here in Ann Arbor and also Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak. And yeah, so what happens is basically you get connected as a dancer. So I know that sounds scary. Don't worry, you're not actually a dancer. The participants are called dancers, and you join a team. And we actually have a crew team this year. So your team gets connected with a family, and you get to interact with them and spend time with them throughout the entire year and build that relationship with them. And that family has a child that benefits from the pediatric rehabilitation programs that Dance Marathon funds.
Yeah, so I'm actually a second-year dancer. So last year when I was involved in Dance Marathon, one of my favorite memories was pumpkin carving. And pumpkin carving happens by the cube, and it's where all the families and dancers get together. You carve pumpkins, and all the little kids are in their little costumes and run around. It's just really great to interact with the families, and the kids just love getting to hang out with college kids and be on campus.
Okay, so if you are interested in signing up, you can go to dmum.org. That's DMUM.org. There's a big dancer registration button. You just have to click it, and you're all set. You'll do some registration stuff, and when it says organization, you just put in crew, CRU, and you'll be put with us. We're super excited to have a crew team. This is our first year that we're having a crew team, and oh yeah, if you want to dive deeper into Christian community, this is a good opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and so at the Dance Marathon, which happens in March, basically we all get together and we all stand for 24 hours for a really great cause. And at the dance, well, it's not like actually like a dance, but there's a bunch of different activities, and all the families are there, and so you get to still hang out with your family, and dive deeper into community with the families, the friends you make, and with all of us.
So if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask Kelly or I or Jess Bauer, because she's a genius when it comes to Dance Marathon. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So if you guys are looking to get involved, definitely go ask them. It's a great organization and a great cause, and I've heard it's a lot of fun too. So a couple more announcements while you guys are still filling out maze cards and volunteer cards and stuff. Make sure you do that. We have some big prizes tonight. So something coming up. I don't know if you guys know, there are 10,000 international students at Michigan. And these students may come from places where preaching the gospel is actually illegal, and people really get persecuted here in this day and age when they speak about it. But we've just heard that Jesus told us that we needed to disciple to all nations. So what does this mean for us? Well, International Week is something that's coming up very soon. And it's an opportunity that through service, friendship, and the E word, evangelism, we can reach out to these international students. And if you want more information, we'll be talking about it at Fall Getaway. Sign up for that, Fall Getaway. And also, we'll be talking about it afterwards. You'll hear about it as well. So we actually have a special guest speaker next week. It's called, have everyone ever heard of the Traveling Team? So the traveling team has been serving university students all across the country. They're a group of speakers that travel around speaking to college students about what matters most about Jesus Christ and having a relationship with Him. They've actually had 3,500 speaking engagements since they were started. That's a lot of talking in front of people. Like probably as many as Billy Graham was talking to in that picture, and like more. So it's super cool that we're able to have them here speaking at Cru next week. So get excited for that. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm sure they're going to have great things to say. So make sure you don't miss ACG next week. Yeah, woo, yeah. All right, so in the back, as we normally do, we have cups. In there we have sunglasses and information about local churches. If you haven't gotten one yet, or you just need more cups for your apartment or dorm room, please grab one. We have a ton, and we are looking to give them out to people. Also, we have t-shirts in the back for $10. If you're looking to show your spirit for Michigan Cru, that's totally something that we would be all for. And also, I'm pretty sure we have Fall Getaway registration in the back. If you can't find out when you're going to do that, don't know when you're going to fit it into your schedule, now is the time. Tonight is the night. You can sign up in the back. So now can we bring up our Maze card winners? I didn't even ask. You guys are great. Okay, our first winner is Chase Winningham. Awesome. You guys can come see me after it's over. Our next winner is Heichel Hale. And one more, Olivia Hamilton. You guys have just won $15 off of Fall Getaway. So that's super exciting. Make sure you don't forget to come and see me afterwards if you won. To everyone else, thanks for coming out. It was great worshiping and listening to talk with you guys. Have a safe weekend. Have a lot of fun on game day, and go Blue.